Well, now we're going to turn to the Trump tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China that are set to go into effect tomorrow. Now, there had been reporting that President Trump may delay them a month, trying to work out deals with those three countries. But this afternoon, the White House press secretary confirmed that the tariffs are now set to go into effect in less than 6.5 hours.
The president will be implementing tomorrow a 25% tariffs on Mexico, 25% tariffs on Canada, and a 10% tariff on China. These are promises made and promises kept.
In a moment, I'm going to talk about the impact and the potential fallout live with Niagara Falls Mayor Jim Diodati. First, though, Dr. Scott Lang is a clinical assistant professor of finance at UB's School of Management, and he's live here with us tonight to talk about this. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
All right, what do you make? I think a lot of people thought that this was being used as a tool to get something, but it looks like these tariffs are going to go into effect tomorrow. What is the immediate impact we see?
I think most markets would agree with you. I think market expectations starting off today, stocks opened relatively green, and the announcement of the tariffs going fully into effect tomorrow caused everything to dip into the red. And so the immediate impacts are going to be seen in a week or two from now, especially in grocery prices. Those are going to react a lot more quickly. And we have a lot of cross-border trade, especially here in Western New York with Canada. And so we're going to start to see that be felt in gasoline prices as well. Then on a longer term horizon, automobile prices will start to go up. All of those components that we work hand in hand with Canada in making products, those are going to see a lot of the impacts from the tariffs most.
Yeah, I want to ask you, I mean, you know, Canada is so close to us, and in a moment we're going to talk with Mayor Jim Diodati about this. I'm going to make sure your microphone is on here, by the way, while I'm asking you this question. I think it may have popped up on us.
Okay.
But basically, in terms of the impact on the relationship with Canada, I know we get a lot of fuel from there. There are concerns that Canada may retaliate with some withholding some electricity from us. How important is that relationship, and how does that factor into this?
Definitely. The relationship with us and Canada, especially here being Western New Yorkers, is crucial. It's fundamental. And they have threatened to do a tit-for-tat tariff relationship, where if we start to impose tariffs, they're going to counterattack and throw tariffs on us. And up in Ontario, they've been specifically threatening to cut off the clean energy. And that further is going to cause harm in the local communities, mainly through increased gas prices. We're going to see it in our utilities, our heating bills, and it might not be felt immediately, but we will start to feel it, particularly these coming months. That clean energy is hard to compete. We can only produce so much of that, and to get that supplemented from elsewhere in the state would be a little difficult right away given these shocks.
Finally, I want to ask you about the response that the White House has put out there, basically in saying, you know, 8 years ago, President Trump took office and used tariffs multiple times, right? And we didn't see inflation become a problem. Obviously nothing compared to what we experienced post-pandemic. Do you think this time will be different in terms of inflation and prices going up, since these tariffs seem to be more broadly based and of course involving some of our closest allies?
Right, that's the million-dollar question, is what is this going to do for inflationary pressures? And so inflation has started to come down in recent months, but with these trade wars starting, 25% tariffs, I think most people wanted 10%. They thought the negotiation would work out to be more in our better interest. Likely prices will have to rise. It's unlikely that importers are going to eat all of those costs. They're going to pass it off onto the consumer. And so we will see increased grocery prices, gas prices again, utilities, and it's going to hurt. We'll feel inflation again, essentially, through the increased prices.
And you think perhaps within a couple of weeks we start to feel that?
Yeah, the guacamole at the Super Bowl party.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, thanks so much, Professor, for coming in.
Thank you.
Get your insight on this. We appreciate it. Right now, I want to continue the conversation with the aforementioned Mayor of Niagara Falls, Ontario, Jim Diodati. Sir, we've talked a lot over the years, especially during the COVID pandemic, about the importance of the relationship between Western New York and Southern Ontario. Do you worry about the impact that this is going to have on that important relationship?
Yeah, I do, Michael, and it's very disappointing. I can tell you, I was with the Premier of Ontario all day today, and this is not anything that we want. Unfortunately, we're being backed into a corner. We aren't going to have any choice but to match tariff for tariff, dollar for dollar. and we don't have any choice. We don't want to do this, but unfortunately, the situation is as it is. We've got 211 years of uninterrupted peace, the world's longest unmilitarized border. Our economies are integrated, $1.3 trillion in two-way trade. We're each other's biggest trading partners for a long time. Our families are on both sides of the border. We're friends. This isn't the way you treat a friend, and we don't take it personal. We understand this isn't the American people. We love the American people. We love the USA. But the political situation right now is a little bit mercurial. We have to roll with it. So unfortunately, the price of gas is going to go up. The price of vehicles is going to go up. Price of food is going to go up on both sides of the border. There's not a lot we can do. The good thing, though, Michael, is the premiers of Ontario, which would be like the governors of the U.S. and across the country of Canada, are going to be meeting in Washington in February. We're very hopeful that they can sit down, hammer out something reasonable, and we can all go away and be in a better place.
Mr. Mayor, the president has said that Canada is not doing enough at the border, and that's why he's instituting these tariffs at the border in terms of illegal migration and in terms of the drug flow from Canada into the United States. Do you believe that Canada has taken steps to address that? Does Canada need to do more on that front?
Well, the president's not wrong in some of the points he makes. The one point, certainly, we're right now already our federal government has announced a significant increase in spending for all of our border guards. Our Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford, has brought in his Ontario Provincial Police to add to that. So we are definitely bolstering our borders, something we should have done before. And as a result of having not done that, our prime minister is going to be leaving. We're going to have another federal election. We're going to have a new leader in Canada because even Canadians are not happy with what we've done along the border and also with our commitments to NATO, where the commitment was 2% of GDP for defense, and we've been behind on that. So he's not wrong. These are things we can definitely do a better job. I'm hopeful that he's doing this so to force our hand in these other issues because we all agree with him in this regard. He didn't need to do the tariffs. Just the threat of a tariff was enough. But here we are. And unfortunately, it's going to have a negative effect on both sides of the border. Everyone's going to suffer from this. When you look back to the 30s, when President Hoover did this, it was terrible. In fact, Henry Ford called it economic stupidity, and it exacerbated the Great Depression. And it wasn't until the 50s that FDR removed them, and then we had our most prosperous time. So we're hopeful they can sit down together in February with the 10 premiers of Canada, sit down with the president and all of his internal people, and hammer something out that we can both win.
We'll be following it. Niagara Falls Mayor Jim Diodati. Sir, thanks so much. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Michael. You too.